You've probably noticed something strange in life. The people who got the best grades end up working for people who barely tried in school. Meanwhile, some of the people you once looked down on are now making serious money. That's not an accident. A large number of successful business owners, millionaires, and CEOs weren't top students. Many had average grades. Some barely made it through school. And yet, they figured out how to win in the real world. So what's really going on? Here are 15 reasons why people who seem dumb often get rich, and what they understand that others don't. Reason number 1. They possess a psychological immunity to doubt. They operate with a specific form of functional delusion, which acts as a protective psychological shield against reality. This belief system allows them to visualize outcomes that a strictly logical or statistical mind would immediately discard as impossible or statistically insignificant. They do not wait for external validation, they do not wait for peer approval, and they do not wait for the probability to shift in their favor. They view their own internal conviction as the only necessary evidence to begin the journey, while highly intelligent people are paralyzed by the calculation of potential failure. Analyzing every possible worst-case scenario, these individuals assume success is a foregone conclusion. They create a self-fulfilling prophecy through the sheer, unrelenting force of their own will. They rewrite the rules of reality, simply because they refuse to accept the limitations that the world has presented to them. Number 2. They understand that confidence is a stronger signal than competence in the chaotic marketplace of human attention. Our brains are biologically wired to follow certainty rather than accuracy. These people instinctively realize that confidence is a heuristic, a mental shortcut that observers use to judge capability, often completely ignoring the actual lack of credentials or experience. They walk into high-stakes environments without an invitation, claiming authority through their posture, their tone, and their unwavering eye contact, effectively hacking the social hierarchy of the room. Smart people wait to be discovered by a mentor or validated by a system, but confident people understand that visibility is a choice. They choose to be seen, and they choose to be heard, long before they are technically ready to be tested. They understand that if you act like the king, the court will eventually treat you like one. Number 3, they view rejection as neutral data rather than emotional defeat. They have systematically desensitized themselves to the word no, viewing it merely as a statistical necessity, a stepping stone on the road to an eventual yes. When they encounter resistance from the world, they do not internalize it as a reflection of their personal worth, nor do they view it as a signal to stop. Instead, they view it as temporary friction, an obstacle that must be worn down through the sheer volume of persistence. Most people stop when the emotional cost of failure becomes too high to bear, retreating to safety to protect their ego. But these people view that emotional cost as the mandatory entry fee for high-level success. They know that if they remain in the doorway long enough and knock loud enough, the world will eventually open the door, if only to stop the noise. Number 4, they leverage the asymmetry of risk. They intuitively understand a mathematical concept that eludes most academics. In many life endeavors, the downside is capped at temporary embarrassment, while the upside is infinite financial or social gain. Most people refuse to swing the bat because they fear the social shame of missing the ball. But these people realize that the crowd has a very short memory. They are willing to look foolish 1,000 times because they know that a single connection, a single viral moment, or a single successful bet instantly erases the history of their previous failures. They play a game of volume and variance, knowing that one single victory changes the entire trajectory of their life. They trade small, temporary pains for massive, permanent gains. Number 5, they aggressively adopt proven models. Instead of inventing new ones, they bypass the costly, painful, and time-consuming phase of experimentation by simply observing what is already generating revenue for others and replicating it with ruthless efficiency. They do not suffer from the not inventive here syndrome, nor do they feel a narcissistic need to prove their intellectual superiority through originality. They view copying not as plagiarism, but as a highly efficient form of economic arbitrage, taking a working system from one context and applying it to another, while smart people waste years trying to reinvent the wheel, trying to be clever, and trying to be unique. These people are already driving the car across the finish line. They value the check clearing more than they value the patent pending. Number 6, they prioritize kinetic learning over theoretical analysis. They recognize that real-world feedback loops provide infinitely higher quality data than any amount of textbook study, mental simulation, or strategic planning ever could. They do not wait to understand the entire map before taking the first step, because they know the terrain will change by the time they arrive anyway. They accept that confusion is a temporary state, and they trust their future self to solve problems as they arise, rather than trying to solve every potential problem in advance. They understand that action creates clarity, while stagnation breeds more fear. They learn the game by playing it, while others learn the game by watching it. The player always outturns the spectator. Number 7. They leverage high emotional intelligence to disarm skepticism. They understand that humans are emotional creatures first and logical creatures second. People do not buy from businesses. They buy from other people they feel safe around by lowering their social guard, using self-deprecation, laughing at their own flaws, and refusing to posture intellectually. They make highly intelligent people lower their defenses. This approachability allows them to build networks that are completely inaccessible to the arrogant or the elite, creating a web of allies who genuinely want to see them win. They know that being liked is a lubricant for business, often far more powerful than being right. A friend will open a door for you that a credential never could. Number 8. They refuse to trade their time for low-leverage tasks. They act with a strategic laziness, admitting their own incompetence in technical or administrative areas, which forces them to delegate early and often. They do not suffer from the perfectionism that compels smart people to do everything themselves in order to ensure it is done right. Because they don't care about the details, they build teams that scale far beyond their own personal capacity. They focus entirely on the outcome, ignoring the nuances of the process, which allows them to move at a speed that process-obsessed competitors cannot match. They are comfortable not being the smartest person in the room, as long as they are the ones signing the checks and owning the asset. Number 9. They thrive in the attention economy. They realize that in a noisy, saturated, digital world, obscurity is a far greater threat to survival than controversy ever could be. They are willing to be loud, polarizing, disruptive, and even annoying, because they know that attention is the primary currency of the modern age. They do not waste energy protecting a pristine reputation, because they understand that a recognizable name, even one associated with chaos, has more leverage than a respected ghost. They monetize eyes, regardless of what those eyes are thinking. They understand that hate clicks and love clicks count exactly the same in the algorithm. Number 10. They execute with speed to capture decaying opportunities. They recognize that the value of a good idea decays rapidly over time as the market shifts and competitors wake up. So they execute immediately, while the window of opportunity is wide open. They do not suffer from analysis paralysis because they view a mediocre plan executed today as infinitely superior to a perfect plan executed next month. They test concepts in the wild, fix the broken parts on the fly, and secure market share, while others are still writing business plans. Momentum is their strategy, speed is their competitive moat, and aggressive execution is their unfair advantage. Number 11, they are satisfied with good enough to ensure consistency. They do not chase the diminishing returns of perfection, but rather the compounding returns of consistency. They find a repeatable process that generates a predictable result, and they hammer it day after day without getting bored and without getting distracted by shiny objects. They understand that a flawed system that runs 365 days a year will always outperform a brilliant system that only runs when conditions are perfect. They win by attrition, simply by being the last one remaining on the battlefield. Boredom kills more businesses than failure does, but they refuse to get bored. Reason number 12. They understand that timing is a multiplier of effort. They know that hard work applied at the wrong time is wasted energy, while average work applied at the right time generates exponential returns. They position themselves in the path of inevitable trends, allowing the wave of the market to do the heavy lifting for them. They do not try to force success through intellect, they try to intercept success by being present. They recognize that being early is a form of genius that requires no actual intelligence, only the courage to act before the crowd arrives. They surrender to the timing of the market rather than fighting against it. Reason number 13. They treat failure as an acquisition cost for education. They do not hide their mistakes, but rather display them as proof of their activity. They failed loudly, publicly, and unapologetically, absorbing the lessons immediately and pivoting without the baggage of a wounded ego. They view every loss not as a verdict on their potential, but as a necessary calibration of their compass. This anti-fragility makes them dangerous because they actually get stronger, smarter, and more resilient with every disaster they survive. While smart people try to avoid the fire, they walk through it and come out the other side refined. Number 14, they rigorously apply Occam's razor to business. They instinctively look for the path of least resistance, questioning why complex solutions are necessary when simple ones exist. They do not romanticize the struggle, nor do they believe that suffering is a requirement for value. They search for loopholes, shortcuts, hacks, and easy wins, understanding that the market rewards results, not the difficulty of the journey. If a stupid solution works, they accept it immediately, while smart people continue to search for a sophisticated one, simply to validate their own intelligence. They strip away the noise until only the money remains. Number 15, they trade in the currency of emotion. They understand that human decision-making is fundamentally emotional, irrational, and biological, and is only justified by logic after the fact. They focus entirely on how they make people feel, whether that is seen, respected, excited, or understood. They know that this emotional imprint lasts longer than any fact, figure, or logical argument ever could. They build loyalty through experience, creating a bond that technical competence cannot break. The people you think are dumb aren't actually dumb. They're playing a different game. They act first. They learn on the way. They don't wait to feel ready. Everyone starts clueless. That's the cost of entry. You don't need to know everything to begin, you just need to begin. Start messy, start anyway. You'll be smarter tomorrow than you are today, and that's how success is built.